So, let's get the microphone in the right position. You'd think I'd spent enough time at the table by this point that I'd get that right, wouldn't you? So, I'm Robert Card. For those of you attempting to keep track of my peregrinations, I'm currently a member of Manchester and Warrington area meeting, and I'm reporting on the work of Sufferings in 2022. In 2022, the clerk of Sufferings was Margaret Bryan, and I was the assistant clerk. So this may be the one point in the cycle where I get to write the report as the assistant clerk and present it as the clerk. Okay. Meeting for Sufferings brings together about 100 friends representing the yearly meeting's constituent area meetings, central and standing committees, YFGM, Britain Yearly Meeting Trustees, and the regional bodies representing friends in Scotland and in Wales. The formal duties of Meeting for Sufferings are in passage 702 of Quaker Faith and Practice. In 2022, much of our time involved receiving reports of various initiatives seeking reform throughout the yearly meeting. Some involve structural changes. We've heard about and will continue to hear about some of those during this yearly meeting. Some have involved changes to nomenclature, such as our decision to abandon the title overseer, which has connotations of slavery and power for many friends. Some, such as the question of whether we could appoint attenders to central committees, led to broader questions concerning the meaning of membership and have involved potential changes to our discipline, reflecting changes in our understanding of the ways we participate in our community. As I'm sure you'll remember, in 2019, Yearly Meeting entrusted Meeting for Sufferings with making minor changes to Quaker Faith and Practice while the new Book of Discipline was being prepared. Since we last reported to you on this subject, Meeting for Sufferings has agreed changes resulting from the laying down of Committee on Clerks and Quaker Stewardship Committee, a change in practice regarding marriage registers, and the new name for Meeting of Friends in Wales, Cwmni Cymru, Quakers in Wales. We have continued to explore the challenges and opportunities of blended meetings. I think we would agree that genuine discernment is possible, but community building may be harder, which might have negative implications for discernment in the long term, particularly for more contentious matters. Meeting for Sufferings is a forum where the witness of friends individually and corporately may be noted. This includes responding to minutes from area meetings and the maintenance of the prison and court register. We also hear from Britain Yearly Meeting Trustees, and this may be the moment to remind you, if you were in yesterday afternoon's session, or tell you for the first time if you weren't, that we have called an extra session of the yearly meeting at our next Meeting for Sufferings at the beginning of July to formally receive the report of trustees and the yearly meeting accounts. Since that session of yearly meeting will be open to friends generally, we are also planning the agenda of Meeting for Sufferings to enable friends more widely to see something of what we do in our meeting. One of the major issues we raised last year was responding to the war in Ukraine, and we heard about efforts to respond to that situation, which has been a challenge to all the historic peace churches and a difficult situation to handle when most of us are secure observing the situation from afar. We heard of the excellent work done by General Meeting of Friends in Scotland, working particularly with the devolved Parliament, to further work on the yearly meeting's priority areas of climate justice, gender diversity, anti-racism, and responding to the threats to truth, integrity, and democracy in our civic bodies. Centrally, the yearly meeting has been active in the Civil Society Voices initiative, tackling the threats to the right to protest, limitations on campaigning, changes to electoral regulations including voter ID, and the politicisation of the Electoral Commission, and threats to the Human Rights Act. Both Quaker Committee for Christian and Interfaith Relations and Quaker World Relations Committee now report formally to Meeting for Sufferings rather than to trustees. Both these committees have undergone, and as we heard, are still undergoing, major changes, but they have risen to the challenge, and we appreciate hearing about their work in connecting us with other faith groups and Quakers from other parts of the world, both of which offer us fresh insight into our faith and our service. With the laying down of Quaker Stewardship Committee, ensuring that area meetings are compliant with their legal obligations has fallen upon Meeting for Sufferings through Quaker Life Central Committee, and we anticipate a report from Quaker Life Central Committee on this in the current year. Throughout 2022, we have received reports from the Book of Discipline Revision Committee on its process. The theme that has come up repeatedly is that spirit-led discernment is central to our lives as Quakers, and that we must arrange our work and our structures to prioritise this. I'd like to finish with words taken from the prepared ministry introducing our prayers for the war in Ukraine at the very beginning of the year. There can sometimes be a temptation to think of what great thing we can do on a par with the times past when Quakers organised the Kindertransport or advised the Russian Tsar. But those things could only happen because of groundwork being done, relationships being built for years beforehand. Have we built the foundations we need for such work today? Has someone else said our role is to support? We aren't necessarily called to be amazing. We are called to be faithful.